Hello everyone. In this video, I would like to review my summary and my rhetorical analysis of Jesse Jackson's Democratic National Convention speech of 1988. As you can see, this is the transcript of the speech. I also have access to the video. This is assuming that you have selected a speech and that you are aware of what your responsibilities are. So there are a list of speeches that you have to select. Many of you have selected, as I can see from the sign-up form. So since I'm going by the assumption that you first selected your speech, this video, or should I say this tutorial, is more or less a demonstration of how I would approach my summary and my response of Jesse Jackson's 1988 presidential convention speech at the Democratic National Convention of 1988. So we go to the main speech and what I expect from the speech. Looking at the assignment instructions, the first thing you need to do is to summarize, and then you are to provide a response. Now, in completing this activity, I expect that you review the assignment specifications. So the assignment specifications are right here. And here I have also listed on 5, in which you tell me something about your position regarding the speaker's speech. So take a look at this. So once you have reviewed the instructions, I assume that you would then proceed to start with the summary aspect of it. So to summarize, I would look at my sources. By now you are familiar with Credo reference. Many of you cited this in the library instruction activity. So here I'm going by Credo reference, and Jesse Jackson's page, Encyclopedia of American Studies, is listed here. From this particular source, I have obtained information on his background. So what I need to do is to put that on my summary and to demonstrate where I got this information from. So this is what I did. So here is how I've gone about summarizing his speech. First, I begin with the biographical details, which you can see here. And I also use in-text citation. You can see some of my sources from the Encyclopedia of American Studies, the Great American History Fact Finder, and the African American Almanac. Now, I have here pretty much a summary of his biography. The next thing to do is to go straight into the speech. And what I've done here is to capture what I believe is the essence of his speech. So this doesn't contain all summaries of all the speech. This is just to capture his main argument. Having watched the speech and read the transcript of his speech, I can say that in the 1988 speech Jesse Jackson gave at the Democratic National Convention, he was attempting to persuade his audience of his views, his position, his vision for the country. So Jesse Jackson had written this speech assuming that he was going to win the presidential nomination ticket. Since he did not win, he delivered the speech as a losing candidate, so to speak, because Michael Dukakis won that presidential nomination ticket. So in the speech, he is trying to inform the Democratic Party and members present and also viewers watching from home that he is the best candidate to lead the country in an inclusive direction, to unify the country irrespective of ideological lines or beliefs. How do I know this? Because in his speech, he talked about meeting at a crossroads, a point of decision, when he said, shall we expand, be inclusive, find unity and power, or suffer division and impotence? It is clear that Jesse Jackson prefers the former, and every aspect of his speech, he goes on to defend how America can be inclusive, how Americans can find a common ground, how Americans can find reconciliation in spite of his past in racism, in spite of his past in discrimination, and in spite of his position as a world or global superpower. So, going into Jesse Jackson's speech, there are many elements of his speech I could explore. And in terms of responding to the speech, I have different tools in which I can use to respond. I could respond by simply saying that I agree that he is a successful orator, that his speech that he delivered was very successful when it comes to ethos, logos, and pathos. But that's not the only way I can respond. I could also respond by analyzing other aspects of his speech, in which he tries to motivate his audience with his tone, with his voice, because this is a very emotional speech. If you look at the last line of the speech, he keeps the phrase, keep hope alive, keep hope alive, keep hope alive. He says that 4 times. This is, he definitely has a message. He definitely has a goal in his speech. The next aspect, after you respond, as I've mentioned, is to go straight into rhetorical analysis. And how are you going to do that? Well, this is the way I would approach a rhetorical analysis of Jesse Jackson's 1988 DNC speech. So, you notice in his speech, he uses metaphors, he uses alliteration or repetition, he uses so many other figures of speech. In terms of figurative language, Jesse Jackson's speech is filled with so many of them. For instance, I was born in the slum, but I'm not of the slum. Well, that's repetition right there. It's also using the slum as a metaphor, meaning he's referring to his background as in poverty, but somebody who has risen out of poverty into a position that is one of honor and dignity. So he, speaking as a reverend, speaking as a civil rights activist, speaking as a Democrat, that is his ethos. I could analyze that aspect. I could analyze his reference to scripture, especially Christian scripture, as revealing something about his position as a Baptist minister. I could analyze his reference to the likes of Rosa Parks, MLK, as mere pathos, because he's trying to persuade the audience in an emotional way by putting himself in the position of Rosa Parks, even though he's not a Rosa Parks. He appeals to statistics. So that's another aspect of logos. I could capture the statistics that he used in the speech. I could capture other aspect where his tone was so loud, him repeating keep hope alive, do not surrender. These are all like terms that you see people use on the battlefield, but it's metaphors that he's trying to use to persuade his audience. So there are many aspects of this rhetorical analysis, and in my next video I will go over that.